Today we're speaking with Nassim Moghadam. Nassim is an artist, art educator, and visual artist working across multiple disciplines, including photography, video, and sculptural installations. She was born in Tehran, Iran, and moved to the United States in 2010. Her work attempts to deconstruct the roles of power and gender in Middle Eastern culture in order to address subjects such as femininity, discrimination, and identity. Nassim is interested in bringing to light restrictions and limitations placed on females and their bodies. Nassim, thank you so much for joining us for Zamin Project. It's so good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be here.
I think the last time I saw your work installed was at Southern Exposure, and I think that's the first time I'd seen your work, and I was just floored by it. So it's I'm definitely having a fangirl moment where I get to talk with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So we've been asking participants sort of, some basic questions, and we've been getting really interesting answers. The first one is what brought you to the Bay Area, and how did you find your way into the Swana community?
So to the Bay Area is just like I flew directly to the Bay Area. I mean, we have moved to the United States 10 years ago, and my husband's cousin used to live here.
Yeah.
So we just flew here because she was the only one who we knew. And because at that time I had my son, 9-year-old son, and we flew to Palo Alto directly. So we've heard about the school being so good over here. We decided to stay here for our son to go to good school.
Okay.
District. So we stayed here, and we are still here after like 11 years almost. So I had some connection with Swana community, as I am an Iranian female. So I had some connection with Iranian. I mean, I found some friends around, my friends from like high school to university in Tehran. And then we made connection with all just Iranian female, friends around us. And then my background is, used to be graphic designer. So searching to just find my way of living here and having some interest. And I can tell you that my English was like terrible. I barely were able to speak. I barely. So it's just like, and hated to go to like English classes as a ESL class. So I was passionate about photography, so I started just taking photography classes at Kutil College.
Yeah.
And just starting taking classes in order to improve my language skills. Oh, yeah. But I just fell in love with that photography and what I do with photography. I mean, I found my voice through photography.
Yeah.
And just to start, thinking about how I can be a voice, like, just like I can bring my voice up, like. Yeah. So, yeah. But it wasn't just about Swana community, and I was trying to show my work everywhere that I can. Mm-hmm. And I was lucky enough to just be, seen by some like communities, like as a people of color, mostly I can say, not as an like just Swana artist. So I have like Southern Exposure was so like supportive to just show my work. Like I have some connection with rather than friends and families around me. Yeah. So like students who are like, I was at the school at SFAI, so I have some friends over there from India, Pakistan, like rather than just Iranian community. I made some more friends from other Swana communities. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is how I connected to different, like I have a lot of friends from Swana community right now. And I have some connection between the galleries, but not because just, I can say because just being from Swana, but plus being a woman of like color.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite questions, just because it it helps me understand like just roughly your origin story, at least here in the Bay Area, but also sort of the motivating factors, you know, like why was California, you know, the right fit, so to speak, and as you mentioned, and as the experience I think of so many people we've talked to is there was family already living here, and that connection seems to be, you know, it's so much a part of overall immigrant stories. I think like where one family member is, like it's the potential for that family connection, that relationship, you know, continues to grow from that space. And then from that sort of stable point, as you mentioned, like you were taking classes and bolstering your you know, English as your second language, and all the ways in which that sort of anchoring experience makes the rest of life broadly defined, like just makes it easier, you know, and it's such a beautiful touch point, I think. And I love that that's one of the sort of the themes that runs through this entire project. So I'm curious about, so you worked as a graphic designer, you trained as a graphic designer, but through photo, it sounds like you have found a whole other, as you mentioned, like a whole other voice. I'm wondering, is there any, not necessarily a skill overlap, but like, what did you take from your training and your work as a graphic designer, like into the photographic or your other creative practical space? Like what, is there an overlap there, or do you find that you draw on certain elements there?
I mean, the graphic design is just my major as, I mean, for my bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say exposed. I was like occupied with art since my childhood. So my father was a photographer. I mean, he had a photography shop as well. Like, I mean, camera was like, right now it's just maybe a pen.
Yeah.
Camera was like a pen around us all the time. So I was always taking pictures, but not that I understood that I can be an artist with photography. So, and I went to high school. My high school was art school as well. So I started as, I mean, the serious part of the art, like more like serious just from high school. Yeah. So I was studying art in high school, and then I decided for my bachelor degree, I don't know why, maybe because that time was popular. So I decided to go for the graphic design. I enjoyed it, but not so, like, I never known myself as an artist when I was doing graphic design. Just I was a graphic designer.
Yeah.
Until I came here, I used all of my knowledge. I mean, I'm still using those knowledge. I mean, I'm still like, there are some sign of those knowledge in there, but never known myself as an artist while I'm doing anything related to graphic design. I do graphic design right now as well, but it's not just my art. It's just my job, like as doing graphic design.
Right. Yeah.
So, that was totally different story for me until I find that, and I was doing a lot of painting and drawing and stuff like that. Yeah. Again, I participated in not a lot, some galleries when I was younger, but I never never known myself as an artist. I never said I'm an artist. Yeah. I always was like, I do graphic design. This is my job. Yeah. And then, but after, I mean, I don't know how this connection appeared suddenly. I mean, I can tell you why, because it was one of my photography classes, one instructor told us there is a competition about social justice. Mm-hmm. And if you want to do something for this social justice competition, just do your work and bring your work for the competition. And I was thinking at that time, I was so concerned about people, I mean, my Iranian female in Iran who are dealing with this compulsory hijab and stuff like that. I mean, just compulsory hijab is one of the stuff that they're dealing with. A lot of discrimination that they're dealing with. And a creative body of work called, it was a self-portrait work, but dealing with this female identity and discrimination, what's going on in Middle Eastern at that time, and Suana right now.
Yeah.
So, and this connection, I believe, just started from there, that I found that, yeah, so I can tell something. I have some story to talk about. So let's start from there. And then, so SFAI was a huge change in my life. I'm in grad school, so mine was SFAI. So huge change in my practice, because I was able to just explore other medias over there.
Yeah.
So, and right now, anything that I do is just not one way. It's all around. I'm thinking about a subject or just something that hits me, and it's gonna go to photo, video, sound, sculpture. It's just like goes all around. Yeah.
So SFAI, that was your first exposure to video, sound, installation practice. Like that all came through your graduate school experience.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Really. I mean, the work I've seen, both your still and your video work, but you're really branching out in all different, like all kinds of ways, like across media, which is, I mean, that's really, it's so exciting to think of. I don't know, just that that the competency is there, and B, that you're excited by these media sort of technical related challenges that are, they're fairly new to you, but that you are also, I don't know, rather accomplished in these various media at the same time. Like I wouldn't look at that and say like, oh yeah, this is her first piece. Like, no, no, there's much more behind this.
But it's really my first. I mean, right now I'm working on glass piece, which I'm like doing with like metal. I'm making this with broken glasses and metal, and just like my first time, and I'm doing it, and just like I love to experiment. But my work is like, before I start doing something, I think about it about 2 months. It's just like thinking, and just starting doing it. So it's just like.
So would you say that the themes that are most prominent in your work, so it's thinking about femininity, discrimination, identity, like how that manifests in the female body, perhaps Swana bodies specifically, like is that sort of, those themes like run through all of the work that all of your work, or is it sort of not relegated to, but do you specifically explore that through photo versus video versus sound installation?
No, it's all
the way across.
Yeah, it's all the way. I mean, the main theme is focused on all of these that you already say, female identity. I mean, just like discrimination and all the stuff that is around people. I mean, it's not just, I mean, when I think about it, started in myself, learning about myself, exploring myself, and then just became like, it's not any about myself, it's just about the culture that I'm living in. And it's not about just the culture that I used to live in and I'm living, it's about female.
Yeah,
all female. Maybe it's just like inspired by I can say female worldwide who are defining for their very basic undeniable rights. So it's just like, when I think about, I hear something, suddenly I think about what can I say? What can I do for this problem that is existing here? One of the pieces that I made last week, I believe, was Shaka asked me to propose for a show that belongs to prison. There's a connection between prisoners and stuff like that. And I've heard this story about Sara Dilijani, who was born in like prison.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm a mom. So, I've heard about another female that, were like forced to give birth in the prison. But I was like, I don't know what happened to me that time. It's just like I was crying for 2 days. That wasn't a new story that I've heard, but maybe because I was thinking to propose something for that show, and I was like so inspired by that, like the idea of like you give birth to in prison, you have your child leave to prison. especially, I mean, some of them lived there for such a long time, but I can imagine I had my son in prison just one day. I mean,
Yeah.
And I came up with the piece. And at that time, it wasn't just this female in the prison, and it was just all mothers who were waiting for their child in the border in the United States. And was like, okay, it's not just about me, just about Iranian females. It could be about all the world. We can have something to say about all the world as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is how my work recently is coming, just like thinking about something or hearing something or something that touches me a lot. But all, yes, as you said, is related to female identity and feminism and discrimination and stuff like that.
It's the things that I want to say sound like such like basic observations, but risking that, there's something so just powerful about that there is this, you recognize it as an experience that you had, a woman living in a rather prescriptive social context and then coming to the United States. But that there is a universality about that, and that it's that you are from experience able to speak to that, if only through, maybe not you personally speaking about it, but through your work. And that there is that moment of recognition, I imagine, for so many people, so many women specifically, who are looking at that and thinking like, yeah, that I totally get that. And so it's I think what I'm laughing at is that like the universal, sort of the general statement, like art is universal, like, yes, we understand that. But the specificity of it, I think, is specific to, I think, women's experience. And that is, I mean, it's so thoughtfully addressed and with such subtlety in your work too. Like I'm thinking of a piece that you exhibited at SOEX, So an Exposure, and it was the triptych from top, top, middle, bottom, but that it was it was women's hair, and it's something that is so, directly associated with femininity and identity and social expectation, and whether it's covered or whether it's revealed, and sort of the choices that are made, or the choices that are made for us. But that like simple yet very specific moment of recognition, like I remember looking at it and others in the gallery sort of standing around sort of looking at it, and they were all women, and being like, yep, that's exactly what that is. And just how that powerfully makes that connection is such a, it's, I don't know, there's something that even after, I don't know, for me, years of working in the arts, like that moment of recognition is still such a powerful thing. And that you capture that and convey that in your work is remarkable. So
thank you so much. That was surprising for me that like some people, like white female are just making connection with the work as like someone who has been like in the same situation. Sure. But not that they're related the same way that I was doing it. They're related in their own way. That's for me is so satisfying as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zamin Project, we're talking about resources. It's the sort of the motivational, one of the motivational ideas for this project. And so when you think about resources, what does that mean for you? Like in terms of community, in terms of family, like however you define it, like what does that really, how does that really resonate for you when you think about the Swana community?
Resources. So to be honest, before this Zamin project and just like what's going on, and I was so inspired by the Lullaby exhibition at Soma Art as well. And these stuff that recently that happening about Swana artists and community, what I was doing, I mean, what I was so like, I don't want to say that, I mean, I have met a lot of artists, and I mean, I have a lot of friends in Swana communities in terms of resources as well. If I want to touch and base with someone, I have some, my small community as well. Yeah. But not that I was involved within a larger community so far that like that I as a Swana artist.
Yeah.
So that I'm working with this community or that community, to be honest.
Yeah.
So the Zamin project is my first, like, I mean, I've worked with like Iranian studied, like it's just like for Iranian culture, not like overall Swana community.
Yeah.
There are good, I mean, we are so fortunate that I'm not sure about everywhere else in the United States, but since I moved to the California, everything was welcoming for me as an artist of color, as a Middle Eastern artist, and or as like Swana community artist right now.
Yeah.
And right now there are a lot of resources around us as being in Swana culture. Yeah. Like just to mention some, like what Shagair is doing right now, you guys are doing right now.
Yeah.
The Zamin project 13 that she was working on, or like Soma Art is doing a lot of like culture, representing different cultures through their galleries and their programming that they're doing. SFAC doing a lot of the Southern Exposure was super, like, for me was very like supportive after my grad school. They were showing my work and it was like, there are different, like right now it's just like more and more, or I don't know if it was there before that more than this, but I believe I'm so glad that all cultures are are having voice, and they can have their voice up like now, and there are like support for that. Yes. So when I moved here, I've heard in some of talks I had some. Did you like face discrimination over here? And it was like, for me, I was fortunate. So I flew to California, and I know California, America as California. I know nowhere else. Yes. And California people, artists, communities are so welcoming. So this is as far as I experience, I don't know about everything. Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way to describe it, and just I'm thankful that you were so well received, and that you feel like supported, like from the beginning, that's been a part of your experience here in the United States and in California, and that you've become such a vital part of numerous arts communities, not just the Swana arts community in the Bay Area, but that you are, as a photographer, as a filmmaker, as a video artist, like as installation, like that you are so much a part of these various communities and represent all of those, not just the media, but those communities just so beautifully.
Thank you.
We're so fortunate that you're here. So.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's an honor. I mean, I'm so glad that I have a lot of support as such as you guys and other supports as well, to be able to show what I'm doing right now. It's just like to have my voice be heard, in like, which is not just my voice, it's the voice of a lot of other people, maybe.
Absolutely. All right. So the last question, what have you been thinking about lately? Like, what's the thing that's foremost on your mind right now?
Let me don't talk about that. So, I mean, right now the situation is very bad in the world. I mean, I can't be positive about what I'm thinking right now, because all I think is mostly negative. Yeah. My happy part is my son going to school. So I'm so happy for him to like experience a life in his own life, his new life. But the rest are like, the world is really bad right now with this pandemic and stuff, COVID-19, Delta, blah, 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 lambada, stuff that was going on. But my country is in a very bad situation. And it's just like, I start my day by reading news, bad news. Everything starts with like, I all the time we are thinking about what's going on in Khuzestan, what's going on, like the fight for water, the fight for human rights, for the fight for coronavirus. And the people are like, it's just like, I mean, I wish I wouldn't talk about that, but it's just like
it's on your mind. I think and that's what I think what many people are thinking about. And so, you know, you're not alone in trying to make sense of it, trying to absorb it, but also that it's, I think that's something that makes the Swana community so vital, is that these thoughts, like the things we think about, the things we're concerned about, are so far, in so many cases, like so far beyond ourselves in the immediacy of our lives in the Bay Area. Like we have connections to Iran, we have connections to occupied Palestine, to Lebanon, to Turkey, to Afghanistan, to Pakistan, like, and that's that sort of the full representation of Swana, and sort of what Swana means sort of in theory and in practice and from an emotional level as well. And so I think it's, you know, what you're thinking about, I think resonates for a lot of people. And again, it's within that space, I think that if we were able to talk about this, it doesn't certainly answer those, you know, planet-sized questions or problems, but at least we're not, I don't know, alone in thinking about it or worrying about it, or that it's on our minds constantly. So it's understandable that these things would be on your mind, but you know,
thank you.
Counterpoint to that you your son is starting college, and how exciting is that?
Yeah, it is pretty exciting. I mean, we are so like dependent on each other. So, I mean, I live with my son and my husband. So, and he's he's independent. With what he's doing, his work and lifestyle, but emotionally we are so like attached to each other, and it's the hard part for all of us to just have him go away. But that's the life. I moved from Iran to United States, and it's just like that's another move. Maybe this is exciting, but but whatever is. I mean, sometimes I say, okay, I don't want to hear anything else. I just want to focus what I'm doing. And then I think that I need to do something for what's going on right now. What can I do? That's the hard part.
Yeah.
So
that's always
that's a mixed challenge, right?
Thank you so much for speaking with us, and best of luck to your son and in starting his new life, and whatever comes next for you, like in the next phase of, you know, he's out of the house and your work is continuing as an artist. And I mean, of course, the bittersweetness of that is all there, but it's also really exciting to think about the next generation of Swana artists, you know, doing what they do. And I imagine he's off to a great start, having grown up with a parent who is such a talented, thoughtful, giving, generous artist. Like I'm excited to see what he does with his work. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much for, I mean, this project is like blowing my mind, and thanks God some people are doing this. So, and thanks for, I mean, these conversations, and I mean, it's not just for Swana community. I think it's really nice for everybody. Absolutely. As much as I love to know about other cultures, I believe that's good. I mean, thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for having me here. And it's just an honor to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Tune into this space the next time. Zameen Project friends. We'll see you here the next time. Bye.
Bye.